Yay, we're live.
Yay! Hi, Anna. So great to see you.
Great to see you too. Long time no see. Just kidding. I just saw you
Yeah,
yesterday.
yeah,
I just saw
I,
you yesterday at our amazing Women in Tech and Business event here in Miami that we hosted in Wynwood. I'm very proud of our community, Vlada. Shout out to you and our third partner, Olena, and all the ladies that joined us in Wynwood last night. And yeah, and actually, we did talk about business, how to start a business in the USA, how to lead a business, right? How to be a good leader. And I feel like this blends perfectly with our today's discussion, right?
absolutely, absolutely. And I also want to give a shout out to so amazing female entrepreneurs, and especially those who were forced to immigrate from Ukraine and start everything from scratch, leaving their jobs, businesses, and all the, in a way, many of them have stepped through many steps in their careers, and now they have to start from beginning, and it's
I
not an
was
easy thing to do.
Absolutely, I was so inspired because like I said it previously. Like we live with you in this tech bubble, right? We're like doing all things tech in the tech industry, education. So this is technically the domain that we are engaging with all the time. But it is so refreshing to kind of step outside of this domain, our like, domain bubble, and see what other people are doing. And most of our community members, they have businesses that are outside of tech,
Real.
real brick and mortar, like whatever they call it, right? Real businesses that like we technically use every day, right? Like for other things rather than working on our
Right,
laptop and
right.
doing things. So that was really inspiring and amazing. I really enjoyed that time, and I'm really grateful that we got the opportunity to run this community here in Miami. By the way, guys, the community is called W Tech. W Tech. I think they are in more. We are now in more than 40 countries worldwide.
47, I think. Yes.
47 countries worldwide. So the chapters are around the globe. So yeah, amazing. I mean, it's not only. I mean, we are of course this is a community for Ukrainian women, but we're happy to invite other women to join us. And yeah, so whoever is watching this, and if you are based in Miami, or if you know women in tech and women entrepreneurs based in Miami, yeah, send them this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say also we're always open to speakers. I think especially the request from community, given that we started our chew on this topic, is because folks are building a lot of brick and mortar businesses. I think if you are in Miami and you've built a business here, whether it's restaurants, salon, something that has physical presence, I think a lot of our ladies would really be inspired and can learn a lot from you. So reach out to either of us if that's your experience. Also, folks, of course, always looking to grow and expand, and that means marketing and sales. So if that's your domain expertise,
Always selling.
always
As a
selling.
true founder, you have to be selling all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on that note, we are turning to chew on this. And today we are chewing, as Anna said, on leadership qualities, on what makes someone a great leader, be it founder, be it leader in a corporate environment, even though some of the qualities haven't had experience in both. I think some of the qualities are transferable, but not not all of them. And then also we can touch on how we hire, right?
Yeah.
Who we look for and who we think makes a great team member. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I am happy to discuss that. And, I want to start, Vlada, maybe interviewing you for a little bit because, I am a
Because
street.
you haven't prepared,
No,
obviously.
no, no, because I'm a street smart entrepreneur. I'm a street smart entrepreneur. I can talk about this, this
Sure.
a part of the entrepreneurship. But you come from the corporate world, and then, you have what do you have, Wharton, you have MBA
Okay.
from Wharton, so like you have all the classic book smart qualifications and the career that you built, climbing the corporate ladder, and you were what, the third person after Dell, or the
Yeah,
yeah,
three
so like,
levels.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then the startup, right? So leadership. So here's the question, just right out of nowhere. I prepared this question for you, but I didn't share it with you.
All right. All right.
So is leadership different when in corporate world versus in the startup world? How it like, what is it like to be a leader in those two domains? How is it similar? How is it different? Tell us.
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. I think that from a leadership perspective, right? In a startup, it's all about speed, right? It's a speed of iteration, and I think the leaders who are successful are the ones who can rapidly iterate themselves and then bring others along, right? And empower and support others to do the same. And we can talk about sort of the qualities that it takes, but it certainly is a speed of decision making. It's not being backed down by failures, because obviously when you quickly iterate and iterate a lot, it means that you fail constantly until you succeed. And then lastly, you become sort of this pump of energy, which allows everyone else to sort of run on your energy supply. And so I think that that's what makes someone successful as a founder, or a senior leader in a startup environment. But when you are a leader in a corporate environment, none of that matters. Right. In fact,
Maybe you can't even do that, right? You can't,
right,
like,
exactly.
that's not the way you rule, right? That's not the way you rule there.
Yeah, because if you show up and you rapidly iterate and you constantly break things and fail, that doesn't make for a really good corporate spirit.
That's why it's so hard to. That's why it's so hard to nail a B2B client.
Yeah, and I think one of the things I say is that I had to unlearn a lot of corporate things when I became an entrepreneur. And in fact, one of the biggest hiring mistakes I've done actually was hiring folks who were too long in corporate career or worked in much later stage startups, and it's just a completely different skill set. There is a rare breed of those, I think, who can do both, and that's why some founders
Oh,
are good.
that's a real.
But I think there are some founders, and I think that's because I had an early entrepreneurial experience just growing up. But so I was never truly corporate. I just learned to to wear my
Corporate. Oh my God! Look at that! Look at that! But you were faking it, right?
yeah,
You're
exactly.
faking to be a top-notch corporate girl.
Yeah, but I think again, I think it's not about speed. It's about longevity. It's about building those long-term relationships, right? Which some folks would call playing the politics, right? So corporate politics. So depending, of course, and it's not necessarily bad, right? Only because it's usually has this bad connotation, but it does mean that to move something in a large organization, it requires really strong alignment with many stakeholders who all have their own agendas. And if you just show up like a crazy person starting to quickly iterate in your little tower, right, doing things and whatnot, it just doesn't sit well with most other people in the company. And so that's why I think that's why it's so hard to have true innovation. Very few large companies, and interestingly, AI is kind of changing that, right? Where a lot of large companies are really big in both their investment and success in AI. But for the longest time, it's just really been hard for large companies to stay very innovative, and that's why they had to acquire a lot of that innovation from outside, because of that lack of speed and iteration.
Yeah, but like, back to your comment regarding AI, a lot of people are saying that the companies are going to be changed or are changing rapidly with AI. And I heard that opinion yesterday. I was watching one of the webinars on AI and transformation of your company with AI, and the speaker said that it's not going to happen super quickly. Like people think it's going to happen super quickly, but it's not going to happen super quickly. And the result of like incorporating AI to optimize some processes in the company, it's not going to be as rapid and it's not going to be as big of a deal as we think. So technically, that gives that answers the question, like, is your job is going to be substituted? Probably not, but definitely it's going to be influenced by the
Right.
fact you might be required to use AI for your day-to-day tasks in a certain position. But yeah, it's not going to happen super fast, just like the dot-com bubble and everything. It took like years before it actually had an effect. So we are fortunate to think that it's going to be a smooth transition, and people don't have to worry about being completely not needed in the work in the workplace. But yeah, definitely the learning curve is here, right? So like, I think what people should really worry about in the corporate world, including leaders, right? Leveraging new tools, innovation, regardless whether you work for a startup or whether you are in corporate world. And yeah, so that's very interesting. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, and I actually have another question for you. When it comes to sort of hiring, as opposed to being a founder, right? If you're talking about early teams, would you say there are the same qualities that are important, or sort of the profile of your early hires is very different from a founder?
To be honest, I think your best bet when you're just at the beginning of your startup journey, your best bet is to hire people that complement the qualities that you lack. Well, I think this is the number one rule for co-founders. I think a really successful group, or I don't know, of
Team.
co-founders, team of co-founders, are those that really complement each other's qualities.
Right.
And the same, like if you don't have co-founders, for example, that can be your first hires, right? So you can hire people that like, I can't do this, but they can do it, right? Like I'm a visionary, but like I need someone who like loves working with documentation and like operations, or vice versa. Or like, I mean, obviously every founder has to sell. So like, if you don't have a co-founder who can sell, then like you have to learn how to sell. But if or maybe there's a first employee who is passionate and have a stake in the company, and that they're gonna sell the heck out of it. So I think this should be the strategy. I definitely don't think that the strategy should be hiring traditionally. Like, what I mean by this is like, for example, I met a lot of founders who start their company and they're like, oh, I need the marketing person, I need this and this. And they just like naming the traditional jobs. And I'm like, wait, no, this is my company. I'm going to invent the job that I need. And it might be not traditional. If I need a marketing person, I can't afford having a marketing person and a social media person, right? Like, I mean, or like whatever. So I'm going to hire someone who can do many things, who can wear many hats. We're going to come up with the name for this job, for this position, or whatever. Pick any name. I don't care. Like, really, names that don't matter in
Well,
this.
Swiss Army knife, right? Someone who is more generalist, and I think that's what you do in the earliest stages.
Yeah, exactly. And but like, I've seen business people and founders, they make this mistake because I don't know, they read it in the book, or maybe they misinterpreted what they read in the book. And like, you don't need product people at the beginning of your startup. Like, you don't need anyone. I mean, if it's a tech startup, you just need developers and yourself, right? Because like, you have to be that Swiss knife as a founder. But also, you have to be mindful as a leader and founder about your strengths and weaknesses, right? And this is a really important thing, I think, for any leaders. And I think this is what makes a leader stand out. When you are self-aware, the self-awareness is power skill. I'm passionate about that. So is the power skill that not every leader possesses. And I think that's the fault, right? So being self-aware of what you're good at, what you're great at, and what you need to work on, and being vulnerable about that, that is something that will definitely help you develop even more into a growth mindset and be a better leader. That's what I think.
Absolutely. And I do have see a question here. Thank you guys for joining us and sharing questions. We definitely encourage that. So we have first question come in about the most important skills that modern leaders should develop to be successful. I think it's a fantastic question, and I think I'll latch on to the word modern, right? Sort of nowadays, right? And what changed. And I think what changed is that increasingly we have folks, Gen Z, and sort of even a little earlier populations that are joining the workforce that are looking for meaning, that want to get more than just financial rewards for better or worse, right? Older generation said, hey, I'm paying you, do the work.
Meaningful work rather
Right,
than
meaningful.
just for looking for higher compensation for work.
Right, exactly. And I think that translates to me that the new requirements of the people for the people who lead them, right? Because you have to provide this meaningful work. And so now the question is how you provide that meaningful work. And that means the leaders who are high on empathy, they understand what their long-term goals are, where do they see themselves, right? They build that personal connection, but they also empower them to develop and lead, right? And find that purpose, because it's harder to find meaning when you're told what to do and say, hey, here's the project, how you execute it, check in a week, and I'll, check your task list for what you've done, right? That's not particularly motivating. But when you are brainstorming together on whatever the project and tactics should be to accomplish the goal, when you ask more questions than give guidance, you allow their personality, their ownership to come to life. That what creates meaning. And so I think it's empathy, and it's really alignment with the people as opposed to alignment only with what you need to do.
I love this, Vlada. I love it because you really show also how you build a team, right? So you are leading from a place of a leader, not a boss, right? So that's another thing. I mean, it's been around for some time, leader versus boss, but I think in modern reality, when we are, like you said, we are a combination of people from different generations, that's really important. I would like to add another skill that I believe is really important for modern leaders. It's learnability. Right. Learnability, I feel like it's unpopular opinion, because when you think about being a leader or top executive and using the word learn, it's kind of like,
to learn. I know.
Learn. What is it to learn? I know everything. I'm a leader. I'm a company founder. I'm a,
Right.
executive founder, everything. Yeah, but I feel learnability, coachability, also known as coachability, this is a skill that will definitely make you stand out as a true modern leader, because we don't know everything and we will never know everything, right? However, it's a trap. It's a trap for leaders who have achieved some success or a lot of success, right? They kind of think, okay, this is I know everything, and this is who I am, and things like that. So that's a trap. And I believe you just have to embrace, again, being humble, being vulnerable. You have to embrace the fact that you need to learn, you need to evolve, even if you know already a lot. And I think this is a key to success. And I believe that modern leaders, the successful people of our time, that's exactly what they are, right? Like how many books Warren Buffett reads a day? Like we all know, like this, or not a day, like a week or something, right? So that's like how you, well, maybe a day, I don't know. Depends how big is the book, right?
Yeah.
It depends how big. So I really believe that being like coachable and learnability is a also a power skill for a modern leader.
For sure, for sure. And I think one thing is true, especially where the pace of change that we have, right? Even if things will not change as quite as fast with AI as some of us in the tech bubble feel, the pace of change accelerated and will continue to accelerate. And the only defensibility in that is your ability to constantly learn, because if you are not growing,
So
you're
true.
going down. You're going down. You can't sort of stay stay in one place.
Yeah,
So
you can't be afloat. This is true. Yeah, and yeah, and another, you just mentioned it. I'm just going to summarize it. Being flexible and adaptable, adaptability in our fast-paced world. And that's something that you need to be able to do. And another thing, I feel, again, getting back to the fact that we live in this world where things are changing quickly. There is a lot of turmoil. I feel that being a human being just generally is hard these days, right? Because there's so much happening around you. But being a leader is even harder because you are responsible for a group of people, for a company, for a project, right? So you have more responsibility. So I feel like it's really important that you balance. Like, you balance your work, you balance your life, you balance your thoughts. I think, balancing your thoughts is a skill, right? Because like we get caught up with like so many different things going through our head daily or like hourly. And I feel like that's another thing. Vlada, have you, like, speaking from your experience when you worked in corporate world, at a big consultancy firm, do you like, did you have the time, or people you worked with, have you seen them being burned out because, like, not only because of a lot of work, because we all have a lot of work, right? But because they didn't pay enough attention into self-care, or they didn't pay attention to, kind of pay attention to their mental health, or like, taking care of, like working out, for example, eating healthily, because these are choices that we make daily, regardless how much work we have, how much money we
yeah,
have. These are choices. What are your thoughts, or what
yeah,
are your
that's a great question. I mean, I honestly feel when I was in consulting, my hours were just insane, and I don't know, you
even
know.
worse than when you were founder?
Yeah, they were worse. Yes, I think they were worse because they also. I think there is a feeling that
I
you
think
are.
the feeling was different. Like,
The
startup
feeling
feeling
was
was like,
different, that I was completely out of control, right? And so if my boss was constantly telling me that we need to catch a train at 6 a.m. and then I was coming back at midnight and still working on my slides till 2 a.m. I mean, that that was it. Try to do self-care. But I think that there's been a lot of changes actually since then. And uh, due to unfortunate events that happened, especially in investment banking and consulting, which are, just very, very challenging environments physically. But I also actually recently was talking to a founder, and she said, "Hey, I am going into this accelerator program. I'm fundraising. What's the most important thing I should do?" And I told her, to her surprise, exercise daily.
I love this. I'm a fitness buff too. Go girl. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I said, listen, all of these things will only happen if you're in the right mental state, if you have the tenacity and energy to persevere, and you have to nurture that, right? And I think that's true of leaders, right? Because I think I really believe in leading by example, right? So first and foremost, you do it to yourself, for yourself, right? So you have the capacity to accomplish the goals that you need to accomplish, but also set the example to your team, right? And the other thing I actually wanted to touch on, which is I think the leadership style actually has to change quite a bit. If you look at the founder journey, but also as you gain more responsibilities, perhaps in the corporate environment, because when you're just starting as a founder and when you have a small team, I think it's really great to create this feeling of family. Of course, maybe not crossing all the boundaries like a family, but
Yeah.
yeah, but you certainly have the capacity to build these one-on-one relationships and know the goals, and kind of this feeling that we're all flat and equal and building together, etc. But as you build the company, it's critical that you build the corporate structures, that you build some hierarchy, that you build some checks and balances. Otherwise, if all decisions come to you, or there is no clarity about decision making, corporate processes, and things like that, you will be your worst enemy in your company's growth, and basically your growth will stumble if you don't do that. So I think it's important to do that. And I remember very clearly that moment when we went from 6 people to about 40 plus people, and that was a drastic change. And I was feeling sad because I knew that
I know founders always feel that way. You're not the only one. I work with a founder, and their company went from like 70 to 500, and they were like still trying to save this like family spirit, but it's not really doable when you're like at 500 people. You're still going to be like a bigger company. Well, this is great, Vlada. I think it's the wrap up time.
yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, time flies. Thanks, guys, for your questions. Hopefully, you got some insights and something to chew on, right? To chew on this afternoon. What are we talking about next time, Vlada? Do you have any ideas or preferences or anything? We chew on this.
Let's chew on this. Exactly. Let's chew on this. And if you guys have ideas and specific questions for us to discuss and debate next time, please reach out to either of us, a comment in this thread to this video.
Honestly, Vlad, I just thought that I read your newsletter, today's newsletter, about your takeaways from being at Burning Man. And I was there too. Maybe we should talk about the takeaways on that influence your leadership, that influence your, just a different way of treating people.
Like how different experiences enrich you as a...
Yeah, exactly. How different experiences can enrich you as a human being, as a leader. I love this topic. Yeah, awesome.
Let's fast iteration. We are founders after all.
Founders, fast iteration. We don't chew on this. We
just make it happen. We bite off.
Bye, everyone. Take care.